Protagonists are the center of pretty much every story there, and that's why they are the protagonists. So today we're going to be looking at the protagonists of the Dragon Quest Monsters games, and I'm going to be putting them on a nice little tier list, and that shows you just how much I like each one of these guys. So welcome everybody, I'm Defeater of Souls, and if you are interested in exclusively Dragon Quest Monsters content, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Now, of course, I need to be a bit more clear. What exactly are my criteria for throwing these guys on my tier list? Well, basically, I'm going to be taking a look at their character, analyzing the character traits we're capable of seeing throughout these games, and then just going from there. So basically, I'm going to see how much personality these guys have, how memorable they are, all that whole 9 yards. Now, of course, to be fair, this is somewhat against the actual design philosophy of these characters. Yuji Horii himself stated that the protagonists of the Dragon Quest games are supposed to be blank slates for you to put your own personality on them. You're supposed to be the protagonist. We're ignoring that. We're just saying if these are the protagonists that aren't you, and you're just kind of watching them through, say, a video game or a movie, how exactly are they? How good of a character are they? So now that we're clear on that, and once again, also, another thing to be clear on, this is my opinion, let's get started at the start. Young Terry from Dragon Quest Monsters. He is, of course, the younger version of Terry from Dragon Quest VI. Now, of course, small tangent, all protagonists in the Dragon Quest Monsters series fall into one of two categories. They are either younger versions of characters from the mainline games, or they're original characters. Generally, original characters have more room to work with because they can be whatever they want. Younger characters have to match the personality that was pre-established in their mainline games, while also being able to expand upon them in an interesting way, and ultimately still letting you feel like you're the main character when you're playing through these games. How well does Terry do this? He does this incredibly well. Now, we get to see him through multiple interactions that the Terry does make sense to evolve into the Terry known in Dragon Quest VI. He's not as rude or cocky or abrasive or anything like that, but he's definitely not some kind-hearted soul. It makes it clear right from the start of the game that the only reason he's helping the Kingdom of Great Tree is because he doesn't seem to have a choice in the matter, and it kind of seems a little begrudging throughout all his interactions. Also, in the post-game of Dragon Quest Monsters 2, you're able to talk with him, and he's still kind of that cocky behavior that he's known for, but he's not nearly as bad as he is in Dragon Quest VI. And this game is actually really clever how this does it, because it actually juxtaposes the Terry we know from Dragon Quest VI with the young Terry. That's right, they bring the actual Terry into the game and have them interact with each other. And of course, Terry is belittling himself, he's calling him names, he's calling him weak. So we can see exactly who Terry is and who he could be, and whether or not he's actually going to go there depends on factors outside of his control, or maybe they are in his control. Either way, they do a really good job of creating an interesting protagonist with very little information, and they do a really good job of basing him off of a pre-established character while also keeping it original. So I'm going to throw him right into S rank. This is going to be pretty much the only guy in there, but that's a spoiler. Maybe I'm wrong. Next games are Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Kobe and Tara's Adventure. I hate to say it, but these guys just aren't that good. First of all, the only reason why there's two games is to take advantage of the Pokemon craze, where you can release two of the exact same game with small differences, and everybody's are going to want both of those copies. That is pretty much the case here, with just some exclusive content being locked behind a couple of these. Besides that, the protagonists are basically the same. Like, if you play one game and then play the other game, the only difference you're going to notice between interacting with the sibling you're not playing as is practically nothing. Kobe is sure a bit more older and a bit more mature, but that's about it. Tara's younger and a little more brash, but at the same time, we're not getting a lot personality-wise, which is a real shame. They could have definitely expanded upon this and give them a pretty interesting personalities and really helped separate these two characters and help make them more or less enjoyable, but that's not the case. So I'm going to put them in C tier. I mean, they're not bad characters, but they could definitely be better. The next game is Dragon Quest Monsters Caravan Heart. Now, to be fair, for all of these Japanese games that aren't officially translated, you're going to have to make sure you remember that anything that we perceive is not exactly what the original developer or the writers may have had in mind. This is just simply what people who had a knowledge of Japanese translated, and as a result, we may lose some things within that translation process. That being said, Young Kiefer does a really good job of helping you establish who he is. Of course, if you've played Dragon Quest VII, then you have a good direct frame of reference to realize that young Kiefer makes a lot of sense, and it pretty much matches the character that's established with him in the actual mainline games. The only problem is, although we are off to an incredibly strong start and we get a nice fitting personality for him, it just doesn't really go anywhere. They have some good ideas, it feels like, it's just they're not really ever expanded on. He just kind of falls into the back as just like, oh yeah, he's here now, let's focus on the actual original characters who are actually struggling. All he wants is to go back home, but there's actually a whole world here that he's exploring anyways. Not necessarily a bad thing, definitely could have been worse. Let's put him in C tier as well. Now, Dragon Quest Monsters Joker. I'm going to be referring to these protagonists as Joker the First, Joker the Second, and Joker the Third, respectively, based off the games they're from. So, Joker the First, how good is he? He is really good. For example, take the initial impression you get. The first time we see him, he is locked in a cell by his own father. Throughout the game, we get this reinforcement that he is a delinquent. People are basically afraid of him. He's the kind of guy who, if he's walking down towards you on a sidewalk, you're going to walk across the street so you don't have to bump into him. He's never going to smile. If you look up any official art of him, you're never going to see the Joker the First smiling. Of course, this also expands to his outfit. It really does help establish the character. He has chains, he's got, of course, his dead-eyed expression, ragged clothes, like the whole thing sells the fact that he's this delinquent. Even though, of course, it's revealed that, he's got his own hopes and dreams. We don't see those. We just see what he presents. He's hiding behind this angry facade. Or, of course, maybe he is angry. We don't know, but it does a really good job of making us see the character as who he is. And honestly, it really takes a little bit to see some of this, but it is a really good job. Now, it's not perfect, but I do think it is very much a high A rank. I feel like if maybe we had a little bit more personality, or maybe some good character growth throughout the story, it could have easily been S rank, but I think really high A is going to be a good spot for him. Joker the Second does not do as good of a job. Now, of course, while Joker the First was supposed to be this kind of unlikable delinquent, Joker the Second is more kind of like that castaway orphan guy that you can't help but feel sorry for. He seems to kind of have more of a jovial personality. He's not like Santa Claus, but he's happy, he's just grateful for what he has. He has the dreams and he wants to do anything he can to reach them. Unfortunately, once again, character growth is not really in the equation. Now, to be fair, story is not really something that Dragon Quest monster games are known for in any capacity, and character growth is definitely asking way too much. But I feel like, at the same time, we don't really get a lot from this character. Which is a shame, because it's a great game, and it's got a great world around it. But I feel like we could have had a little bit more. He's not a bad character, just definitely could have been better. I think I'm going to put him into the bottom of B tier. Now, of course, looking back on the list, I think I put Prince Kiefer a little low. I'm going to put him up in the top of B tier. That is my mistake on hindsight, so let's keep going. Joker the Third. Now, once again, we run into the small translation problem where what we are getting necessarily may not be what the developers had in mind. So doing a little research, he has amnesia. Now, to be fair, amnesia can be used really well in a good story-focused game to help give us a steady little incline and help us learn things along with the protagonist. But at the same time, I've repeated this at least twice already, this is not a series known for its great stories. Dragon Quest Monsters is more about the fun and intriguing gameplay. Plus, I have not played Joker 3. Yeah, I know. But at the same time, from what little I can find, and from the fact that it's Japanese and amnesia, how good of a character can this really be? I mean, to be fair, it could be a great character, it could be incredibly well developed somehow, it could lead to a wonderful story arc, but I just don't know. So, from what little information I have, I'm going to put him in D tier. However, I also don't feel like I'm qualified, so basically, you can basically ignore him. He's in D tier if you really want him on there, but since I don't feel qualified, you can just ignore his presence on this list entirely. That leads us to the final game on this list, that being Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince's Pizarro. Now, how good of a protagonist is Pizarro? He is pretty good. Dragon Quest Monsters Dark Prince is pretty much the closest this series has gotten, to my knowledge, to a really story-focused game. And this game really goes hard on the story. The whole thing is very much front and center. You get some nice long cutscenes at the front, all this fun stuff. The only problem is, It's not a standalone story. The whole thing acts as an alternate retelling of the story of Dragon Quest IV, and while that is a great game, you kinda need to play it in order to fully appreciate the story, and unfortunately that also means you have to play it in order to fully appreciate Pizarro. If you don't, Pizarro just kinda comes off as weird, like, why does he care? Like, they try and establish rapport and maybe make you feel sorry for him, but you don't kind of get it. Like they try, but it doesn't really succeed. They do give it a good effort, but when you play Dragon Quest IV and you're able to actually see some of the other things and really get a better appreciation for everything, then it really hits a bit harder. Is it perfect by any means? No, but it is a great way to try and expand the Pizarro story and really help make Pizarro a more fleshed out character. But at the same time, they already did that really well in the post game of Dragon Quest IV, so hmm, so I think he is a good protagonist, and it was a great protagonist idea. I just feel like the execution may have left a little bit lacking. So I'm going to put him in A rank as well. I'm going to put him below Joker the First, but I do think that he is a good protagonist, and with a little more work, he could have been the perfect protagonist. He just wasn't there yet. And that's the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a like, and once again, if you're interested in Dragon Quest Monsters content, subscribe to my channel. It's much appreciated, and you won't regret it, hopefully. If you agree with my ranking, or you disagree with my ranking, or you just feel like saying something, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you, and I enjoy having conversations with people down there. Before we go, it's time for the challenge of the every other week. Last week I asked, out of the 15 Rank X monsters available in Dragon Quest Monsters Joker, which one of them is obtainable without needing breeding. Only one person was able to guess it, and that was Ape King 9971. So congratulations, Ape King, thank you for watching, and thank you for participating. Now the challenge of this week is, which one of these protagonists appeared in a spin-off game? Which spin-off game? Well, it's not Rivals, and it's not Heroes, and it's not Of the Stars. I'm talking the now defunct mobile game Dragon Quest Monsters Tact, or Dragon Quest Tact. I don't know why I added monsters in there. That's right, one of these protagonists, and I'm talking about the protagonists of the game, not Terry and Pizarro, but rather young Terry or young Pizarro. One of them actually appeared as a playable character and obtainable character in Dragon Quest Tact. Do you know which one it is? Leave your guess down in the comments, and if you're the first person to get it right, I'll give you a shout out in the next video. With that all out of the way, thank you very much for watching, and this has been Defeater of Souls.